Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/am I the asshole for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading the post, giving you my thoughts and opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Quiet Mulberry 5400. Am I the asshole for asking my friend to leave my birthday party because she brought her crying baby? Reddit has deemed this person not the asshole. Sorry for the longish post. It's not a long post. I, 27 female, recently threw a birthday party at my apartment. It was a pretty low-key gathering with about 10 friends, lots of snacks, a couple of drinks, and just a fun night hanging out. Everything was going fine until my friend, Sarah, 28 female, showed up with her 7-month-old baby. Now, I love Sarah, and I know she's a mom, but I wasn't expecting her to bring the baby to a party, especially since we had planned to play games, drink, and chat. The baby started crying almost immediately when they walked in, and Sarah tried to calm her down, but she was clearly struggling. At first, I thought it was a momentary thing, but the crying continued for almost an hour. Super loud and non-stop. It was hard to hear anything over the noise, and some of the other guests were getting visibly uncomfortable. I eventually pulled Sarah aside and asked her if she could maybe step outside with the baby or take a break in the other room until the baby calmed down. I explained that it was just hard to enjoy the party with the crying. She was clearly upset and told me that I should be more understanding, since she can't just leave the baby at home, and she was doing her best to keep her calm. She ended up leaving shortly after, and now she's not speaking to me. I feel bad because I know being a mom is hard, but I also feel like it was my birthday and I wanted to have a good time without the crying baby. Some people think I was rude for asking her to leave, while others think I was just trying to protect the vibe of the party. Am I the asshole? Personally, from what OP described here, I wouldn't even say that you kicked her out of the party. You offered her a place for her to essentially wind down and give the baby space to calm down and for things just to kind of level out, and instead she chose to leave. So you didn't necessarily kick her out, but you did actually attempt to provide solutions to a problem without being exclusionary. Now, I can definitely only imagine the kind of stress that would come with being a new mother, and of course the socially isolating aspect of it, of the fact that, you have a newborn to take care of and you can't exactly bring your newborn everywhere with you, and you may not be in the financial ability to pay for a babysitter every time you want to go out. So I can definitely understand, or at least sympathize with, the struggles that are going to come with that. But also, an aspect of having a child is knowing the times and places where it is acceptable to bring your child, and OP's birthday probably wasn't that place. OP's friend is the one who chose to bring her child. OP's friend is also the one who did not take any of OP's solutions and decided to leave. OP tried to provide a middle ground, and that middle ground was declined. So I'm inclined to agree with Reddit's opinion here, where OP is not the asshole. But what do you think? Did I miss something, or have I failed to consider a specific aspect of the story? I would love to hear your opinions on this, as always. Inside Sid. Am I the asshole for kicking my pregnant sister out of my apartment? Reddit has deemed this person the asshole. Hello, I live in an apartment with my grandmother. A week ago, I got home from work to find my grandmother in her room resting and my sister and her 1-year-old son in my living room. She's also 8 months pregnant. This is normal and happens often. I usually keep to myself, but I do enjoy their company when they are there. However, every time I come home to find them in my apartment, the place is a mess. This time a couch and dining chairs are moved. There's food, dominoes, kitchen pans, and pillows on the floor. I have to step over stuff to walk towards my room. Things originally placed on the floor are moved on top of the dining table and counters. As someone who has issues with change and OCD, it causes me stress and discomfort. I would like things to remain how they were placed as I left them before work. I was gonna let it be and went to shower. Once done, I went enjoying my sister on the couch to spend time with my nephew. The convo switched to the issue. She said it wasn't a mess, only moves things to block him, and she always cleans it up before she leaves. I said it is not her apartment to rearrange, and that it's her job / the father's job to keep him from stuff he shouldn't touch. She said all I want to do is trap him / restrain him down and not let him be a 1-year-old curious boy. I disagreed, and said we should not have to move anything when they come over. It's not their space to make perfect for them. This argument got pretty heated as conflict resolution is not in our genetics. She at one point told me to get out, and I said I live here. You don't. So you should leave. This led to my grandmother coming out of her room in perfect timing for my sister to start ranting about how I would be a terrible mother, that as soon as her ride arrives, she would be gone, and she isn't ever coming back. I said that's her choice, that I wasn't kicking her out permanently, and I just wanted the apartment to remain how I set it up. I know she can't actually leave since she's waiting on a ride. My grandmother gets upset because her coming over here is the only way she can see her and the baby since my grandmother is disabled. I feel I should have a fair say in what happens at the apartment whether I pay rent or not, since we both signed the lease and I help her with other things than just finances. Unfortunately, I knew she would take my sister's side since she's her favorite, and even though we had a private discussion a few nights prior where she did agree with me, my sister begins cleaning up the area. I just walk to my room and close the door. Not too long after, the boyfriend arrives to pick them up. I hear through my door my sister saying again she isn't coming back. That I said she is a bad mother and he's a bad father, which didn't happen, and some other insults. They gathered their bags, said goodbye to my grandmother, and left. So, am I the asshole? The way that you and your sister argue kind of put both of you in an everyone sucks here situation, but I'm kind of more leaning towards OP being the main asshole here. And let me at least try to explain my reasoning here. Just because you openly state that you don't have conflict resolution skills does not immediately give you a pass for your behavior. And that applies to both OP and their sister. Now, the next thing is the way that OP phrases whether I pay rent or not gives me the impression that they might be living with their grandmother and not actually paying a dime towards the actual rent itself. They volunteered some pretty interesting information that definitely raises an eyebrow that I would have just assumed that they would have been paying rent and been on the lease otherwise, but the fact that they went out of their way to specify whether or not I pay rent or not, and my name is on the lease, definitely raises an eyebrow. Now, the next aspect is, and this really boils down to communication, that if things being moved around messes with your OCD and causes that level of stress and discomfort, perhaps having a conversation with your sister that, hey, this really bothers me when you rearrange the furniture to kind of corral your child in. It would really help me is if you made sure that everything was put back into its place when you are done visiting. It's not a perfect solution by any means, but it is a solution. It does not solve the fact that OP is still being openly exposed to something that is triggering their OCD, which, you know, whether or not OP's the asshole or not, that is a valid thing to have to try to navigate around, is your OCD picking at you in a way that definitely pisses you off. But it's an explanation, not an excuse. I don't believe it's fair to use disabilities as an excuse for your actions. I think it's okay to use them to explain your actions, but not excuse them. The next thing is this isn't just your apartment, this is also your grandmother's. Your grandmother wants to see her great-grandchild, and she's disabled. This is the only way that she is able to see her great-grandchild, and it is essentially locked behind OP's approval. I'm personally unsure how OP can deal with their OCD so this doesn't bother them as much, but it's certainly unfortunate that the grandmother's ties to her great-grandchild is essentially tied to whether or not her grandchildren can get along and not bicker with each other. Does it suck that OP's sister lied about OP calling them bad parents? Yes. But there is so much going on here of these two bickering back and forth and just causing more problems than actually finding solutions that I am more definitely inclined to give an everyone sucks rating with leaning a bit more towards you're the asshole towards OP. But that's my reasoning. That's just where I stand on this. So please, if you disagree, or perhaps maybe I misrepresented something, or maybe I just outright dropped the ball because I'm currently sleep deprived right now. So please, let me know what you think in the comments. JillyBaby11. Am I the asshole for not telling my partner that I didn't clean up his mess? Reddit deems this post as everyone sucks. So, my partner, 34 male, and I, 33 female, have been together for 4 years now. Last night he got drunk and listened to his music downstairs, which he does sometimes on the weekends. He came to bed around midnight. I stayed up late playing games, and at around 3 a.m. he stands up from the bed, he walks over to the bedroom door, and stands there for a moment. And then, I hear the pitter-patter of liquid hitting the linoleum floor. I immediately sit up and yell, "Babe, babe!" To which he stops and goes, "Whoa, whoa!" and stops, heads to the bathroom to finish up. He stumbles back to bed and passes out. This isn't the first time he's peed somewhere he shouldn't in his sleep, but it isn't something that happens a lot. I think it's happened maybe 3 times in his whole life, twice before we dated, and this was the only time I've been around for it. It's like he's sleepwalking and gets confused. I grumble, take a photo of the puddle, pop a towel down, and send him a photo and a message saying, "Just in case you forgot, you pissed on the floor last night." Because, in my opinion, it's his responsibility to clean up. It wasn't a huge puddle, just a small one. He wakes up around 11 and sees my message, walks over the towel, starts his morning. I look over and the cat is sitting on the towel, to which I go, "No, that towel's dirty." And my partner suddenly looks up. "Is that towel there from last night?" he asks. "Well, yeah," I responded. "Why didn't you tell me it was still dirty?" he complained. I said I wasn't going to clean up the mess he made last night. That was his responsibility. He said, "That's not what I'm saying. Why didn't you tell me sooner it was still there so I could clean it?" So now he's sulking and cranky with me. He says it's because I didn't tell him sooner. But I'm of the opinion that he's just mad I didn't clean it up for him. Like, he knew it was there. He saw the message. So if he didn't clean it up, who else would have? Am I the asshole for not cleaning up my partner's mess? I was pretty confused as to why Reddit gave this one the everyone sucks rating. And after digging in the comments, it's just Reddit being Reddit. Comments such as, "Everyone sucks here because, he sucks for peeing on the floor and you suck for dating a 6-foot-tall man-child." Like, what is she supposed to do? Literally uproot her entire life over one instance? Like, yeah, this is pretty fucking embarrassing and definitely something that's just, wow, I can't believe your boyfriend did that. That's pretty embarrassing. But in no way would I ever be like, wow, you really suck for putting up with him like that. Like, she didn't put up with him. She made him clean up his mess. She made him deal with his drunken mistake. And according to her, this is the first time this has happened since they were together. So it's not like floor pissing in the house is a common occurrence. And yeah, in general, I agree with OP's assessment. I think the boyfriend is sad because the mess wasn't cleaned up for him. He checked his messages, saw the towel, understood the explanation, and decided to maybe see if he could get away with not cleaning it. That's my opinion, that's how I'm reading the circumstance, but to me, it sounds like OP did not let him get away with his bullshit. So I was definitely curious if there was at least one valid "everyone sucks here" comment that wasn't just simply blaming OP for putting up with her boyfriend's drunken blunder, because it seems if your relationship isn't perfect according to Reddit, you should just fucking break up and move out. I could only find one "everyone sucks here" comment that actually made sense, and I somewhat agree with that understanding. And it's the fact of, they left pee soaking in a towel on linoleum floor, which is a porous material. They should have at least tried to do their best to mop it up the best they could, because having that soak overnight is going to probably potentially ruin the linoleum. That is the only potentially fair argument that I could possibly find in all of the "everyone sucks here" comments that wasn't just throwing shade OP's way because she didn't immediately break up with her boyfriend or that she was putting up with an adult puppy. Sad long 4048. Am I the asshole? I splurged and bought me something after my wife told me no. Reddit has deemed this person the asshole. I, 38 male, and my wife, 35 male. Huh. I assumed that was a typo when he meant 35 female. I'll just call her Kelly. Have been together 9 years, married for 5, and we have 2 kids. Recently, I've been getting into sim racing, mainly Assetto Corsa. For some context, I am a long-distance trucker working 50-plus hour weeks, making around $170K a year. I'm usually home on Sundays, but that's not always the case. When I am home, I usually try to do something with the family, but since I've found this new hobby, I've been spending more time there. Kelly hasn't liked it as I'm not home much, so when I am, she wants family time. Perfectly understandable. Yet, since I can't race while working, I really don't have any time except for when I'm home. Within the last year, she has wanted a hot tub and a new car. I've bought her both since money's not an issue, and they would be nice. So, about 2 weeks ago, I brought up the idea that since no one ever rides with me in my truck, I could install a sim rig in the passenger seat. I've seen it done before and thought it would be the best of both worlds, as I could race when not driving, and when home, we could have family time. She immediately shot down the idea, saying it's just gonna be a huge waste of money. So, without her knowing, I took off last Monday and Tuesday to have my friend who builds custom sim rigs build one into my passenger seat. After everything was done and bought, rig, PC, wheel, shifter, monitors, etc., it came to be around $3,700. Nothing compared to what went into her $5,000 hot tub and $39,000 car. Everything is collapsible so I can see while driving, so it's not a driving hazard and doesn't affect her at all. When I came home this Sunday and she saw it, she went ballistic, cussing me out and left me to walk home. I park my truck at a shop, Kelly comes to pick me up and drives me home. So, after a 40-minute walk, I made it home to see she took the kids to her mother's and wanted to talk about making smart financial decisions. This made me mad as we have a large savings account and emergency fund, so what's wrong with me spending my hard-earned money to splurge a bit on myself? She's a stay-at-home mom and it has been that way since we've met. I do all I can to make sure she has everything she needs and is happy, but I can't have a sim rig to relax and have some fun with the boys? Am I the asshole? Edit, I don't think this would be needed, but seeing all the people saying that I take 2 days off for a hobby but not for family, I take days/weeks off all the time. We go on family vacations every quarter. I make time for my family. This purchase is so I can enjoy my hobby on my downtime on the road. I see so many people saying, yeah, she's mad because you spent $4,000 to take more family time away. No, if you'd read the full post, it is in my truck. This allows me more family time, yet I'm not going out searching for things to do with my downtime on the road. Sorry for the confusion, title was poorly picked too. For everyone saying I should have had a conversation, I tried. She shot me down immediately, wouldn't allow the conversation. The kids are back home and everything seems to be fine, and I do call her and the kids every night. So many people think I don't care about my family. It's ridiculous. So there is a really annoying trend with a lot of subreddits where they immediately see a man posting about his family and they just jump straight towards, oh, you're a deadbeat dad who doesn't give a shit about his family. Okay, you're the asshole. And that certainly does get under my skin quite a bit. And it might be the sleep deprivation, so please, if I'm missing something, let me know. I think the main thing that OP fucked up on in this post is comparing his sim rig to a hot tub in a car that he got for his wife. And additionally, what I could probably also see is there could be a lot of discussion around the fact of how many times did you try to initiate this conversation with your wife? Did you bring it up once? She said no, so you jumped right in and just got it done anyways? Or was this something where after numerous attempts to have the conversation, where she just would not even enter the conversation in the first place, OP decided, you know what, I'm just going to do it. Because if it was the former, I can understand why OP would have more of an asshole leaning in the situation, but if it was the latter, that definitely does muddy the waters a lot. I think it also hurts the wife because you're essentially just stating, yeah, your opinion doesn't matter. I think some of his reasoning for it was initially flawed, but I do understand why he would want to do what he's doing. He's opening up more family time. He's also opening up time for his hobby. He's making his drives more bearable. And also, on top of all of that, if they have the savings, they're not tapping into the emergency fund, and it's something where it just fits comfortably within his truck, then I personally don't see the issue with him spending that kind of money to not just open up hobby time for himself, but also open up more family time for himself when he gets home. Maybe I'm missing something just massive and glaring, but in my eyes, I'm actually pretty uncomfortable with how his wife reacted to where she abandoned him, left him to walk 40 minutes to get home on his own, and then took the kids to her mother's house just out of the blue. Like, that reaction is crazy to me. But overall, just trying to wrap my brain into where I'm currently at, I think Reddit is potentially just trying to find any reason to lump this guy into the deadbeat dad category when The whole purpose of the sim racing unit is so he can practice his hobby when he's on the road and have more time for his family when he gets home. It's a mental health win-win that he's actively put a solution towards. So I don't think he's the asshole for getting the sim racer in his truck, but I think he fumbled the ball with getting it installed and not fully communicating with his wife about it, going behind her back, and also then justifying the reasoning behind it as a hot tub and a car that he got for her. I think that probably rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, but the amount of people who are looking at that the husband did, but completely ignoring the actions the wife did, just, I don't know. I certainly don't agree with Reddit's assessment that this guy is basically a deadbeat dad and he's the asshole, because it just doesn't come off that way. I think I'm going to personally leave this as an everyone sucks here, because the husband probably should have spent more time trying to explain to his wife why this was a good financial decision instead of just jumping the gun on it, because I do agree with him. This is a healthy financial decision to make. It will be good for his mental health and in the end also help the family. But his wife's reaction to this and the fact that so many people are just ignoring this, it just raises a massive red flag for me. And I'm happy that according to OP, they talk things out and things seem to be normal. But it really bothers me how much the husband's actions are being fucking magnified and put on blast, but the wife literally abandoning him and making him walk 40 minutes to get home and then just taking the kids somewhere else is just being glossed over. It just makes me feel fucking crazy. Immediate phrase 999. Am I the asshole for agreeing with my daughter? It is weird her friend's mom has access to their conversations. Reddit has deemed this person not the asshole. My daughter is 14 years old and has a friend, Chloe. She and Chloe have been friends for a little over a year now. Chloe's mom, Gina, is someone I'd consider pretty strict. I was aware she checked Chloe's phone, and I know a lot of parents do this. But I found out a few months ago through my daughter that she'd responded through Chloe's phone to Chloe's friends, including my daughter. It was never anything overkill, just Chloe can't talk right now. She's busy with homework, or whatever. I thought this was odd, but didn't say anything to Gina about it because that's her life and her business. I got a call from Gina this afternoon. She was very pissed off and told me that my daughter was rude. I needed to start monitoring what she says, etc. I asked her what exactly happened, and she said my daughter gave her an attitude via text. I was still very confused and asked why they were texting. Gina became exasperated and snapped through Chloe's phone. I told her I'd call her back and ask my daughter specifically what happened. My daughter willingly showed me her texts. She had texted Chloe something. Gina had responded using Chloe's phone saying Chloe was busy. My daughter replied asking when Chloe would be available to talk. Gina told her, "When she's ready, stop texting her." My daughter replied, "You don't have to be so rude." Gina said she wasn't being rude. My daughter said yes, Gina was, and also called her a weirdo for using Chloe's phone. I told my daughter, next time, just don't engage. I did also say it wasn't kind to call someone a weirdo and not to do it again, but that I also understood her frustration. I didn't punish her, she seemed receptive to the talk, and I left it at that. I called Gina back and told her I had spoken to my daughter and handled the problem. Gina started ranting that I need to monitor my daughter's phone, and have I seen some of the things she talks about? She started on crushes, rants about teachers, saying there were times my daughter badmouthed me when frustrated. I said that's all fine. I'd rather her have a safe space to vent with her friends. After all, she's a teenager. Gina kept pressing on the issue and what would be done. I told her nothing. I spoke with my daughter and handled it. Gina said, "But she insulted an adult." I told her I handled it. But my daughter also didn't say anything that wasn't true. Gina was acting like a weirdo. Now Gina is angry with me. My daughter doesn't care that I said all of this, however, my husband thinks that I shouldn't have said it, as it didn't solve anything, and Gina can parent how she wants. I said I never commented on Gina's parenting until she tried to undermine/insult me. Am I the asshole? Massive respect to OP for hearing, "Did you know your daughter is talking shit about you?" and responding very politely and calmly with, "I don't care, she's a teenager, she's allowed to have those feelings." Chloe's mom, in my opinion, is definitely very over-controlling. And yeah, there's definitely a fine line between making sure that your child is being safe when they're online and just simply reading through every text message they ever send and holding their phone hostage, and even communicating with their friends when Chloe is indisposed from their phone. I mean, hell, Chloe's mom, or Gina, is so goddamn controlling that she was even trying to ensure that the punishment that she saw fit was inflicted on OP's child. Now, I know that if I was a parent and one of my child's friend's parents was trying to tell me how I have to punish my child, I would certainly be unhappy and just generally have the attitude of, who the hell do you think you are in this instance? So yeah, in my opinion, OP has some very A+ parenting, while Chloe's mother receives a solid F-. Tick agent. Am I the asshole for yelling at a mom and her kid to get out of my home? Reddit has deemed this person not the asshole. A few months ago, I, 28 female, started a new D&D campaign and invited a few friends. One of them, Sarah, asked if her friend Anne could join. Anne is a mom who doesn't get many chances to hang out with adults, so I agreed, even though I knew she might be flaky due to childcare responsibilities. I asked Anne if she could attend at least the first few sessions to get familiar with the game, and she agreed. She then proceeded to cancel, mostly last minute, every proposed first session for the next 2 months. I told her I'm sorry, but if she can't make it to the next proposed session, she won't be in long campaigns. Still welcome to join one-shots. She apologized and said she'll make it. She made it, but brought her toddler without asking. As soon as they came, the kid needed to use the bathroom. He made a mess since he can't fully use an adult toilet yet. I told Anne that it's fine, but asked her to clean it up. This surprised her, and she started being a bit on edge. We finally sat down at the table and the kid started running around, looking for things to do. I was a bit stressed out by this. Anne noticed and put him in her lap, but now the kid was at the table, which was covered in mini figurines, dice, pretty pictures, and maps, most being a choking hazard, along with glasses of various drinks. The kid started fussing about wanting to play with them. I was telling Anne no because it's not safe. She told me he's gentle and doesn't put stuff in his mouth. We bickered while our kid was throwing a tantrum. After the kid knocked over a glass, I loudly asked her to step out in the backyard and calm him down a bit while I make the table safer. She did, visibly embarrassed, and I removed everything except for plain-looking papers, pens, and paper cups. I also did my best to calm down as this entire thing stressed me out to hell and back at this point. They came back and things were fine for a minute. That is, until my dog came out of my bedroom to drink water. Now, I don't have many house rules, but I have one that's important. Ignore the dog. They were informed of that before coming over. The kid spotted her and yelled, "Doggy!" and put him down to say hi. He made a full-speed beeline at my dog while making grabbing motions and yelling. I stopped him by stepping out in front of him. He ran into me, fell down, and started crying, and started screaming at me. I screamed back, and very swiftly told her to get the fuck out of my home. Sarah was annoyed and told us it took them an hour and a half to get to me. Then, went with Anne since they carpooled. The rest stayed. It was awkward for half an hour or so, but we ended up having fun, and they even stayed for the night. I then woke up to the local Facebook groups and people's Instagram stories calling me a controlling asshole, saying I'm discriminating against various players, being too strict, and have a dangerous dog. To add insult to injury, Sarah, who I've been friends with for years, is not speaking to me. So, am I the asshole? I mean, you try to create an environment where Anne could come over and essentially have adult friends, but she, without asking or without permission, brought her child with her. And again, I understand that finding childcare can be fairly expensive, but at the same time, if the reason you're unable to go to a D&D session is because you can't find childcare, that does not mean the D&D session becomes the childcare. Especially without asking for permission if you can even bring your toddler to someone else's home in the first place. There's not really an easy way to childproof D&D without stripping out all the fun and magic and just the fun little touches that you add here and there. Anything from figures to maps to drinks to just anything that the child could hurt themselves with, which is a majority of the D&D stuff besides maybe pens and paper, is gonna have to be removed from the table. So you're also now hurting every other guest's experience because you unexpectedly brought a toddler there. Not to mention, OP wasn't discriminating by trying to childproof the table. In fact, actually, I think the whole concept of them going onto Facebook to lambast OP for not having a welcoming home when they unexpectedly brought their toddler to someone else's house and just expected them to have free reign of the place. And then, of course, also, OP expressed they had one rule: don't mess with the dog. When Anne saw the dog, she just ignored that rule and actively put her toddler down to go play with the dog. Anne doesn't know what that dog's temperament is. The toddler doesn't know what the dog's temperament is. But OP does. And OP specifically stated to leave the dog alone for a reason. Honestly, if I were OP, I'd probably go into Facebook or Instagram and politely correct the narrative and just publicly state what actually happened. I'd actually be really curious to hear from parents on this one to see what their opinion is, because we've now had 2 stories where an infant or a toddler is essentially the bane or the crux of the story and the main source of a lot of the issues. So I assume that a lot of the comments from parents would probably end up applying to both. Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSupps. Use code ODDS at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code ODDS directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Pear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those 2 are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup, and you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code ODDS at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.